The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. If you ever watched the movie The Secret, or you've read the book, you'll know that Rhonda Byrne refers to a certain book that changed her life. And it's this book right here, The Science of Getting Rich. Now, it's not a very long book. However, it's a very concentrated book. And it is a book that talks about a very specific process, a very specific formula for getting rich. And the essence, they've stripped it down, it's a very old book, into a very formulaic approach in which the first handful of chapters, a bulk of the book, covers the different aspects of the process in detail. At the end of the book, you'll come across a summary. So what I've done here is I've taken the summary from the book at the end, and I've put it together into these 8 parts. These are the 8 parts for implementing The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. Now, this is for anyone that is interested, as he talks about in this book, to generate wealth in your life. And although there's different expressions of wealth, this is primarily for those that want to make monetary wealth or monetary equivalent-based wealth and not dedicate a lot of time thinking of philosophies, but are really looking at the metaphysical aspects, the stuff that's covered in The Secret, as well as the stuff that's tangible, the action steps and so forth. Now, there's a lot to creating wealth, which comes to you on the journey. The truth is that you can spend months, years, decades of your life consuming every business book, studying the subject of creating wealth from multiple different angles. But then all you've done is you've invested 30, 40, 50 years in study and probably very little time in taking action. Now, actions is what creates the value in which you put it out there in the world and people pay you for it. So we want to invest a lot of time doing action. So this book simplifies it. He talks about actually why it's important to, as you're studying this material, to really be not scarce, but concentrate and focus on this book and only this book. And do that knowing that it's going to change the way you think, it's going to get you to think in a certain way, to really adopt and believe the philosophies within, which is going to get you to take certain actions, and these actions are going to create more clarity in your life, and then more information and people and specific elements as to what you need to do to create that wealth will show up without getting overly bogged down. So, without further ado, these 8 principles, which are on my screen right now, we're going to go deeper into, and I'm going to share my insights and perspectives as well as quotes from the book. So number 1, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, penetrates, and fills the inner space of the universe. A thought in the substance produces the thing that is imagined by the thought. So essentially, thoughts become things. Your thoughts create your reality. Everything begins with an idea. If you look around and you see all the stuff that has been created in reality, technology, software, physical things around your house, so if you're in an office right now, whatever it is, all that stuff came from an idea that somebody had. And when they had this idea, they acted upon it. They might not have acted upon it in a way that they knew all the action steps, but they acted enough to get the ball rolling. And the more actions they take, the more clarity they got, and with the more clarity, they'll be able to refine their actions, and they kept repeating the process over and over again until they created that very thing in reality. So ideas acted upon create reality. You can sit there and theorize and have all these ideas, but if you're not taking action, then you are not having faith in your idea, number 1. And number 2, you're not really working with what he calls the formless stuff. Raw materials, physical, mental, emotional, can be configured to create something new and great that is of value to others in which they're willing to pay for. So let's look at some quotes in relation to thought. Thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches from the formless substance. And by formless substance, he's referring to the physical world, which the physical world is just formless substance until we give it meaning, until we focus on certain things, creating the story of our life. So having focused thought allows us to work with the formless stuff to create in reality. The stuff from which all things are made is a substance which thinks, and a thought of form is the substance produces the form. Now, as he mentions in his book, this isn't a lengthy discussion about the study of metaphysics. This is just enough so you can work with it to create wealth in your life, which is what we're looking for here in this discussion. Original substance moves according to its thoughts. Every form and process you see in nature is the visible expression of a thought in original substance. As the formless stuff thinks of a form, it takes that form. As it thinks of a motion, it makes that motion. That is the way all things are created. That's number one. Number two is man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. Okay, so this is the 8-step process in the summary at the end of the book, which I'm going over in detail, of essentially what to do to think in a certain way and act in a certain way to produce riches in your life, to produce wealth. So in relation to point number 2, some of the insights I thought about is the more we think about something, the more that thing we think about turns into a desire. The greater the desire we have upon something, the more likely we are to act in accordance. And the more we act in accordance, the more we attract in accordance. Okay, we'll start to see things and the opportunities in our environment than we didn't see before, because now we're acting on intent. We have pure intent because we're clear. And by the way, clarity comes through taking action. The more actions you take, the clearer you become. You can have a vision as to what you want, and then you can refine that vision by taking action. The more actions you take, the clearer, like a painter, you'll be able to really paint what that image is of your vision in your mind as to what you want. And the more you can do that and act upon it, desire, all these things I'm talking about happen, the more we're able to see the opportunities that already exist in our environment. And a lot of times they've already existed in our environment. It's just we didn't really see it because we didn't have that clear vision. The more we remove ideologies that contradict this idea that we're talking about right here, this way of thinking, the more power we give this particular ideology. Everything that you are right now is the result of the thinking that you have, which a lot of times is influenced by the external world. What we want to do is we want to be influenced to think a certain way so that we can do things a certain way. And that includes consuming this kind of information and being around certain people that facilitate it, that further embed this way of thinking. You must lay aside all other concepts of the universe than this monistic one, and you must dwell upon it until it's fixed in your mind and it has become your habitual thought. Read these creed statements over and over again. Fix every word upon your memory and meditate upon them until you firmly believe what they say. If a doubt comes to you, cast it aside as a sin. Do not listen to arguments against this idea. Do not go to churches or lectures where the contrary concept of things is taught or preached. Do not read magazines or books which teach in a different idea. If you get mixed up in your faith, all your efforts will be in vain. Do not ask why these things are true, nor speculate as to how they can be true. Simply take them on trust. The science of getting rich begins with the absolute acceptance of this faith. So, while most people love to study various different sources, it's important to understand what you're doing when you study. When you pay attention to information, is you're constructing the way you see reality. And that constructing may not be in alignment with your vision. And so thus, you want to consume information that constructs your thinking in a certain way. How you see reality to be a certain way that is in alignment with your vision. Then the actions are going to flow out of you. And to do this, we must have the discipline to filter noise and irrelevant information from getting into our mind and set ourselves up to be around positive information that feeds our mind, that furthers these kind of understandings from certain books, certain people, certain environments, etc. To think what you want to think is to think truth, regardless of its appearance. Okay? You hear me say this a lot. Nothing in life has any meaning unless you give it meaning. Okay? You can give meaning to whatever you want. You obviously want to give an empowering, ethical meaning that's out of contribution and respect, not only for others but yourself. You obviously want to do that. But there's a lot of different kinds of disempowering meanings that we've given to things that we can remove. We can reconstruct. We want to readjust our paradigm so that when we act, it's based on this empowering paradigm that we've created through repetition of studying this kind of information and taking action in a way that supports that kind of thinking, so that these behaviors just flow out of us with ease. We'll automatically do things a certain way. The truth is that most of us know what we have to do. We know what we have to do from morning till night. The reason why we don't do it is because we have conflicting ideologies, conflicting ways of thinking that is further being integrated by the supporting information that we consume. Nature is an inexhaustible storehouse of riches. The supply will never run short. Original substance is alive with creative energy and is constantly producing more forms. When the supply of building material is exhausted, more will be produced. When the soil is exhausted, so that foodstuffs and materials for clothing will no longer grow upon it, it will be renewed, or more soil will be made. This is all about thinking from a place of abundance, understanding that there is far more raw material that you have access to that is even within your awareness right now, that you're even aware exists to help you create that value that you give to others in exchange for wealth. When you focus on your vision as to what you want to create, you will start to see how you can tap into those inexhaustible storehouses of riches, raw materials, and different kinds of things and people and so forth to help you achieve that vision. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be rich. The desire for riches is really the desire for a richer, fuller, and a more abundant life. And that desire is praiseworthy. So a lot of times what happens is people have a difficult time accepting or believing that they're worthy of wealth, worthy of being rich. And again, this comes from conflicting ideologies that they've been assimilating through conversations with others, different kinds of material they've been reading, and so forth. Once you start to accept that there's nothing wrong with wanting to be rich, you're not going to be apologetic in your behaviors. Your confidence is going to shine through every word that you say, every action that you take, and it's going to influence what he calls the formless stuff. And these actions are going to be based on your vision. Life has advanced so far and become so complex that even the most ordinary man or woman requires a great amount of wealth in order to live in a manner that even approaches completeness. See, the truth is, if you have a lot of wealth, if you have good money, you can have more experiences that are readily available. All you got to do is just pay for it. You can travel anywhere you want. You can eat whatever you want. You could do a lot of things. You can have a lot more freedom because you don't need to trade your time for money, because maybe you've set up an automated business or you really understand how to invest wealth and all those different kinds of things. But having riches allows you to create it. Now, there's many different ways of doing it. You could do barter, you could do cryptocurrency, and all those are forms of an expression of value, okay? And if you want to create money, well, it's very easy to get what you want just by paying money. So we should make it an emphasis to be able to accumulate a lot of wealth, to get rich, so that we can live that fulfilling, richer life. And we can do that with the people that we care about, so we can, give back to others and so forth. Money does a lot of really powerful things. There is a science of getting rich. It is an exact science, like algebra or arithmetic. There are certain laws that govern the process of acquiring riches. Once these laws are learned and obeyed by any man, he will get rich with mathematical certainty. Number 3, in order to do this, man must pass from the competitive to creative mind, otherwise he cannot be in harmony with the formless intelligence, which is always creative and never competitive in spirit. So, seeing that competition exists is not a bad thing. In certain kinds of business environments, competition exists and sometimes can appear to be very fierce. But it's not about being in denial. It's about rising up to look above the competition, to see of the different opportunities that exist that don't require you to fight against the competition, as well as how you could work with competition. So competition really exists where there's a game with certain rules. And you can win this game by rising above and playing a higher level game which overrules the rules of the game at a lower level. Instead of competing, look for ways to create new realities that return riches in which you create the rules. So you can actually create different categories and opportunities and different segments in the market, or even new markets in which you create the rules. And this comes from focusing on your vision and really elevating yourself to operate from this kind of level of frequency of thought that we're talking about here in this video and that's covered in this book. And that's the more esoteric stuff, the more metaphysical stuff. But that's how you can tune yourself to see what you can do rather than seeing what you can't do. And there's far more than what you can do than you believe is possible. A lot of times we listen to others versus listening to ourselves, and then we act from our past or what others tell us to do, instead of looking at our future vision and acting in the now based on what moves us forward towards that future vision, while still learning from our past, but learning from it, overcoming it, and making peace with certain aspects of your past is very important, because if you don't do that, you're always going to be holding on to those aspects from your past, and they're going to manifest in not only your thinking, but the actions or the lack of actions that you take. The truth is that most people, not everybody, but most people know what they have to do. But the reason why they don't do it is because they have all these stories and baggage from their past and ideologies that prevent them from doing things a certain way. A large emphasis on this book is about doing things a certain way. And a lot of people know what to do, but they just can't do it because they've got all these conflicting ideologies. So a lot of insights are covered in not only this video, but this book and other things I talk about to help you overcome those different limiting beliefs and ideologies. Because that's what I had to do on myself, and I'm continuously improving and doing more and more of this every day. Getting rich involves the necessity of dealing with men and of being where they are, people to deal with. And if these people are inclined to deal in a way that you want to deal, so much better. So if it's wealth we want to create, we're creating that by dealing with people, by creating value for them and asking for some money in return. And value, what does that mean to them, right? For me, it's win-win or no deal. I don't really want to deal with anyone where I am at an advantage and they're at a disadvantage. I can find enough people that are at a mutual advantage. Sometimes I'll be paying them the money. Sometimes they'll be paying me the money. But value is always being exchanged for value. And what you want to do is you want to give more value than you receive. And value has to be what they see as value. Number 4, man may come into full harmony with the formless substance by entertaining a lively and sincere gratitude for the blessings it bestows upon him. Gratitude unifies the mind of a man with the intelligence of substance so that man's thoughts are received by the formless. Man can remain upon the creative plane only by uniting himself with the formless intelligence through a deep and continuous feeling of gratitude. Gratitude is very important. Rhonda Bryan talks a lot about this in The Secret. Gratitude is very important because it's an alignment energy. It's a frequency. It's a feeling that is going to put you in a state of mind that is going to allow you to see the opportunities, number one, number two, and act upon them. Okay? And the best way to do this is to have gratitude for everything and everyone that's in your life. And one of my default sayings, you might have heard me say this a lot, is the most important person in your life is the person in front of you right now. This means no matter where you are in your day, whoever you're interacting with them, have gratitude towards them. Have gratitude. Look for ways to have gratitude and hold on to that gratitude and show that gratitude, because the more you do that, the more you tune yourself, the more you think you're in a certain frequency, a certain way of being, which causes certain actions to flow out of you naturally, which allows you to see opportunities because you've elevated yourself that you wouldn't see anywhere else. Many people who order their lives rightly in all other ways are kept in poverty because of their lack of gratitude. So you can do a lot of things right, but if you're not focusing on valuing gratitude, recognizing gratitude, and really being cognizant of where the gratitude is and showing gratitude in your life in these areas, then you're not going to have the consciousness to be able to work with what he calls the formless stuff. Okay, your vision is what you want, and then you still have to work with the formless stuff. And you can say that gratitude, in a way, is a bridge, it's a tool, it's a way of commanding the formless stuff. It's hard to command the formless stuff if you don't have gratitude. We want to make this a flowing process. We don't want this to be stressful. We don't want to beat ourselves up and make this like a war type scenario. We want to flow into wealth and abundance, and we want to align ourselves with gratitude. Gratitude will lead your mind out along the ways by which things come, and will keep you in close harmony with creative thought and prevent you from falling into scarcity-based competitive thought. So 5, man must form a clear and definite mental image of the things he wishes to have, to do, or to become, and he must hold this mental image in his thoughts while being deeply grateful to the Supreme that all his desires are granted to him. The man who wishes to get rich must spend his leisurely hours in contemplating his vision and in the earnest thanksgiving that the reality is being given to him. Too much stress cannot be laid on the importance of frequent contemplation on the mental image, coupled with unwavering faith and devout gratitude. This is the process by which the impression is given to the formless and the creative forces set into motion. So, a lot there. Thinking a certain way. If you think a certain way and you believe what is covered here in point number 5 to be true, you're going to take action in that way. It's going to further emphasize, further assimilate, wire into your neurology the ideology, because you're going to see the validation, you're going to see the reference experiences, and you're going to start thinking a certain way. And by thinking a certain way, you're going to do things a certain way. That clear mental picture you must have continuously in your mind, as a sailor has in the mind the port towards that which he is sailing the ship. You must keep your face towards it at all time. You must no more lose sight of it than the steersman loses sight of the compass. Your part is to intelligently formulate your desire for the things which make for a larger life, and to get these desires arranged into a coherent whole, and then to impress this whole desire into the formless substance, which has the power and the will to bring you what you want. Do not try by occult or mystical means to act on people or things that are outside of your reach. Do not wait for the change of environment before you act. Get a chance of environment, or get a change of environment by action. Action based on your vision modifies reality, modifies the formless stuff, reconfigures, rearranges, changes the circumstances, changes the dynamics around. Action. Now, control what you have control over, not others. If you try to control others, if you try to manipulate others, you're going to be fighting a losing battle. And while you might be able to manipulate those that have a low level of self-worth, that's not really the kind of people that you want to work with to create value. And they're going to feel taken advantage of. You're going to feel guilty, and all kinds of weird things, which I'm not going to get into, will happen as a result of it. That's not what we want to do. We want to be clear as to what we want and recognize that we're going to work with the formless stuff, and people are going to show up in our reality who are going to be in alignment. We're going to have gratitude from those people. We're going to value those people. And we might even end up working with those people or providing them value in which they pay for you in return graciously and gladly. And your action, whatever it is, must most likely be in your present business or employment, and must be upon the persons and things in your present environment. You cannot act where you are not. You cannot act where you have been. You cannot act where you are going to be. You can only act where you are right now. Do not bother as to whether yesterday's work was well done or ill done. Do today's work really well. Do not try to do tomorrow's work now. There will be plenty of time for that. Do what you can right now. Okay? This present circumstance that you've got, your present environment, whatever it is, your business or place of employment, contains opportunities and room for growth like you can't even imagine. And to me, that's one of the most important lessons in life, something I work to develop every single day, is to value what I have right now, the opportunities that I have right now, the different kinds of environments that I'm in right now. Even though I travel a lot, I still have to make sure that wherever I am, I value it like it's the most important place. It's the place where I should be. The business dealings and different things I'm working on are the most important things, and I can get whatever I want for my vision based on where I'm at right now. Again, that's the thinking in a certain way. By thought, the thing you want is brought to you. By action, you receive it. Whether your action is to be, it is evident that you must act now. You cannot act in the past, and it's essential to the clearness of your mental vision that you dismiss the past from your mind. Okay? You cannot act in the future, for the future is not here yet, and you cannot tell how you will want to act in any future contingency until the contingency has arrived. Okay, Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle is worth reading. I made a video on that. Next is number 6. The creative energy works through the established channels of natural growth and of the industrial and social order. All that is included in his mental image will surely be brought to the man who follows the instructions given above, and whose faith does not waver. What he wants will come to him through the ways of established trade and commerce. You will work, if you're going to create money wealth, with what is available right now as far as raw materials and the platforms. Okay, you'll work with that to create it. It will come through all these channels. The key, what you want to focus on, is what he calls increase. Let's talk about that. You can get into the business you want by making constructive use of the business you are already establishing. Okay, constructive use. By doing your daily work in a certain way. And insofar as your business consists in dealing with other men, whether personally or by letter, the key thought of all your efforts must be to convey to their minds the impressions of increase, as in that you are a giver. You're the one that brings value into the interaction. You are giving more than you ask for, and you're doing it with ease because you've figured out cool, very strategic, and multidimensional ways of giving more, of creating that increase. And you do it masterfully, and you do it knowing with confidence, not desperation, that you're going to get your share in return. And if you want more, you just have to multiply the increase. Be sure of this and convey assurance of the fact to every man, woman, child, whom with you are in contact with. It's worth practicing with everything you do all the time, even outside your business, no matter how small the transaction. Even if it be the only as selling a stick of candy to a little child, put into the thought of increase and make sure that the customer is impressed with the thought. Okay, it's the feeling. Do everything that you do in the firm conviction that you are advancing personally and that you are giving advancement to everyone. Okay, giving advancement to everyone. What does value mean to the other person, and how can you multiply your efforts to create more value for them? You must so impress others that they will feel that in association with you, they get more increase for themselves. See that you give them a use value greater than the cash value you are taking from them. The mind that seeks mastery over others is the competitive mind, and the competitive mind is not the creative mind. Okay, so if you're looking for creative ways to add more value to the audience that your so-called competitors serve, and you keep stacking that value, your competition will no longer exist. And while they're looking for ways to take you out and do all these other kind of things, they are not working with this kind of purity of intent and quality of character that we're talking about here, and that what is discussed in this book. So what about getting into the right business? You will get rich most easily in point of effort if you do that which you are best fitted, but you will get rich most satisfactorily if you do which is what you want to do. Now, I personally don't do anything that I don't really want to do. Okay, I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. That doesn't mean that I don't push myself out of my comfort zone. I'm going to do things that make me feel uncomfortable if it's going to grow me. But if I find myself in a situation at this stage of my life where I'm doing something that I don't want to do, I gracefully leave that situation. Now, it took me many years to work on this and set myself up in a way where I have boundaries. I know what I want. I know what I contribute as far as value goes. I know what fair dealings means to me and those that I deal with, and to be very respectful and gracious in setting this all up. But I don't want to do something that I don't want to do because I don't want to put in half-ass kind of effort, because that's going to produce subpar, suboptimal results for whoever I'm doing it for. Anybody who's got a passion for cooking, the food always tastes better. If a person does not have a passion for what they do, you can feel and taste it in the product and service that they give to you. And I don't want to be that person. And nowadays, there's an opportunity to look and find a business in so many different areas, provided that you understand how to persuade ethically and give value through learning sales, marketing, public speaking, your ability to convey to others why they should invest in what it is that you're selling. Do not be obliged to do what you not like to do, and should not do it except as a means to bring you to the doing of the thing you want to do. Okay, so when I said I don't do things I don't want to do right now, that is the truth. However, over the years, I was doing things that I didn't want to do because I had to learn the discipline of gratitude, because I had to learn certain skills, because I didn't really see reality in this way. And you also have to work with what you have right now, and you may not have a pleasant situation. So you have to work with what you have, and you have to constantly work to rise above it. Then your situation will change depending on the situation. My experience, my situations changed because I worked with what I had in that moment, even if I didn't really enjoy doing it. It was growing me in other ways, but I valued it. Then you get to a point where you can pick and choose what you want to do. And that picking and choosing is going to come from a place of contribution, and that's a great place to be. Do not be afraid to make a sudden and radical change if the opportunity is presented. And if you feel, after careful consideration, that it is the right opportunity, but never take sudden or radical action when you are in doubt as to the wisdom of doing so. Okay? Sometimes in life, you have to take a bold move. You have to go where there's challenge and excitement. When the opportunity presents itself, you have to be willing to take action. And you have to know if it's the right opportunity. This comes through experience. You will know when you get the doubts, when you get the gut feeling that it shouldn't be the thing you're doing. You'll know not to do it. And that's going to come through experience. However, if you don't take action, if you don't try things, then you're not going to be able to calibrate to figure out when it is the right opportunity. Now, if you really listen to yourself, you really focus on your vision, and you do the things outlined in this book, then it's going to be easier to differentiate when the opportunity is being presented or if it's not an opportunity worth pursuing. So next, number 7 is, in order to receive his own when it shall come to him, man must be active, and this activity can only consist in more than filling his present space. He must keep in mind the purpose to get rich through the realization of his mental image, and he must do every day all that can be done that day, taking care to do each act in a successful manner. He must give to every man a use value in excess of the cash value he receives, so that each transaction makes for more life, and he must so hold the advancing thought that the impression of increase will be communicated to all in whom he comes in contact with. So increase is this thing that he talks about a lot in this book. So let's cover that for a moment. Look at some quotes in the book here. The one substance desires to live more in you. Hence, it wants you to have all the things you can have. This is a universe and reality based on increase. And once you start to see how that's true, you allow what he calls the one substance to work through you to create more increase for others. Get rid of the idea that God wants you to sacrifice yourself for others and that you can secure his favor by doing so. God requires nothing of this kind. What he wants is that you should make the most of yourself for yourself and for others. And you can help others by making the most of yourself in any other way. So whether you believe in a God or not, this is true. You should always look for ways to make the most of yourself for yourself and for others. And you can help others more by making the most of yourself than in any other way. Not by lecturing people, not by trying to convince people, but by doing. There'll be a time and place to share. There's a time and place to discuss, but you must create those results first. Personally, what I do is I share on these videos my insights and perspectives, and this is where I have the discussion. And yeah, I'll have conversations like this with people outside of this, but most of my time is spent in action. Most of my time is spent doing, because that's where I can create the most results, concrete results. And it actually gives me a lot of insights that I could share with you to help you on your journey. But likewise, you should invest more time in doing than in talking. Okay? That's how you increase output for others, so you can create more wealth for yourself. Never look at the visible supply. Always look at the limitless riches in formless substance and know that they are coming to you as fast as you can receive and use them. Nobody, by concerning the visible supply, can prevent you from getting what is yours. Once you switch your ideology around to really internalize that statement and accept it and not have doubts about it, things start to change. Really, you will notice people getting drawn towards you. Volumes of opportunities and people and situations will start to come to you, and you'll be able to pick really fast, and you'll level up and you'll rise up, and it's really just you'll really just either move fast or hold yourself back based on internal belief systems and states. And for me, this is an ongoing journey. I look for opportunities every single day to remove any kind of layers or little friction points, whatever you want to call it, that prevent the abundance from flowing to me, preventing me from contributing more or being my best self. Okay, just being the best that I could be, because I know that if I'm operating at my best, I create more value and thus create more wealth for me. Man can form things through his thought, and by impressing his thought upon the formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks to be created. So I've also gone through the book and I pulled out a number of quotes. I'm not going to go through it because it'll make the video very long to go through all of them, but I've got a copy of the mind map which you can download at the link in the description of this video. So let's proceed. Let's talk about willpower, or I should say willing things into reality. It's very important, and it's important we do it in the right way. So let's talk about that. To set about getting rich in a scientific way, you do not try to apply willpower to anything outside of yourself. You have no right to do so anyways. It is wrong to apply your will onto other men and women in order to get them to do what you wish. Okay? I'll say this again. It's very important. Do not try to apply your willpower to anything outside yourself. There is massive amounts of opportunity to get ourselves to do things a certain way. If we can get ourselves to do things a certain way, to think a certain way, to handle situations in a certain way, then the results are going to keep increasing and increasing and increasing. The moment we try to switch our awareness on trying to control the external factors that we don't have control over, we're giving our power away. Substance is friendly to you and is more anxious to give you what you want than you are to get it, okay? This formless stuff he's talking about, substance, wants to give you more than you are willing to accept or can accept. To get rich, you need only to use your willpower upon yourself. When you know what to think and do, then you must use your will to compel yourself to think and do those things. Since belief is all important, it behooves you to guard your thoughts. Guard your thoughts. And as your beliefs will be shaped to the very extent by the things you observe and think about, it is important that you should command your attention. Everyone's trying to get your attention. Reality is trying to take your attention away from where you want to put your attention and put it on to where they want to put your attention. And it's not always in your best interest. So the key is to work on learning how to hold your attention. Your attention is extremely valuable. Your attention is what's going to allow you to focus on your vision and impress that upon the formless stuff. Your attention is going to allow you to see when the opportunities present themselves. Your attention is going to get you to act in a way where you don't feel afraid and move forward and be bold in your actions and confident. So it's definitely worth building your attention, improving your ability to focus your will. And this is why I love meditation. The very best thing you can do for the whole world is to make the most of yourself. So you have to will the forces within yourself to make that happen. You cannot retain a true and clear vision of wealth if you're constantly turning your attention to opposing pictures, whether they be external or imaginary. Okay? Conflicting ideologies. We have to work to remove them. So, efficient action. What is action? And what is efficient action in the context of what he talks about here? Here's some quotes. You must use your thought as directed in previous chapters and begin to do what you can do where you are, and you must do all that you can do where you are. Okay? The answer is not down there. It's where you are right now. What can you make the most of right now? And do that as well as you can. That's efficient action. As you do that, you'll get better at optimization. You're not to overwork nor to rush blindly into your business in the effort to do the greatest possible number of things in the shortest period of time. You're not to try to do tomorrow's work today, nor to do a week's worth in a day. It is really not the number of things you do, but the efficiency of each separate action that counts. Every act in itself either a success or a failure. Every act is in itself either effective or ineffective. Every ineffective act is a failure, and if you spend your life in doing inefficient acts, your whole life will be a failure. So it's worth reflecting upon the actions you take and the results. Everything is cause and effect. Do every day all that you can do on that day, and do it in an effective manner, efficient manner. That's what he talks about, efficient action. Very broad explanation. There's plenty of books that get granular on it. That's something we want to think about in everything we do. We're being efficient with what we do. So the advancing man, no matter whether you are a physician, a teacher, or clergyman, if you can give increase of life to others and make them sensible of the fact, they will be attracted to you and you will get rich. Do not wait for an opportunity to be all that you want to be. When an opportunity to be more than you are now is presented and you feel impelled to it, keyword, impelled to it, take it. It will be the first step towards a greater opportunity. There is no such thing possible in the universe as a lack of opportunities for the man who is living the advancing life. Okay? If you see lack of opportunities, you have to question your ideologies and read this book 100 times, over and over and over again, till your brain accepts this to be true as fact, and then you'll start to see the opportunities. And that's why Rhonda Byrne was able to leverage this book to create the whole empire in secret. She literally came out of nowhere. And last time I checked, it was $500 million the secret empire had brought in, and that could have been a modest figure, and that's probably like 5 years ago when I got that figure, or 3 years ago, or something like that. Number 8, the men and women who practice the foregoing instructions will clearly get rich, and the riches they receive will be in exact proportion to the definiteness of their vision, the fixity of their purpose, the steadiness of their faith, and the depth of their gratitude. Okay? It's worth repeating again. The men and women who practice the foregoing instructions will get rich, and the riches they will receive will be in exact proportion. The definiteness of their vision, the fixity of their purpose, focused on the purpose, the steadiness of their faith, and the depth of their gratitude. Must see gratitude in everything. So many people will scoff at the idea that there is this exact science of getting rich, holding the impression that supply of wealth is limited, and they insist that social and government institutions must be changed before even a considerable amount of people acquire competence. This is not true. It is true that existing governments keep the masses in poverty, or however you want to look at it, but this is because the masses do not think and act in a certain way. In other words, combined collective reality is a result of combined collective thinking. So this is a very different way of thinking that I'm talking about right here, and that's covered in this book, especially when I say things like remove all the other ideologies out of your philosophy. I'm not saying be ignorant or indifferent. I'm saying set yourself up where you've got a good base in your thinking and then start exploring some alternative thinking. Now, one of the things that I do, because I've been working on myself over the years, is I like listening to people who don't think the way I do, that have different ideologies, different belief systems that are radically different than mine, because I want to know how they got to where they are. I want to know how they think. I want to see what I don't know about what they know, because all truths are but half-truths. And even as adamant as I am about something, there might be a situation where it's not true. But at the same time, I got a solid base from constantly, through repetition of consuming this information and taking action on it, a solid base that I know if anything is going into my psychology that's going to throw me off track. There's a saying, be ruthless with your time and gracious in their presence. Give no anxious thought to possible disasters, obstacles, panics, or unfavorable combinations of circumstance. It is time enough to meet such things when they present themselves before you in the immediate present, and you will find that every difficulty carries with it the wherewithal for its overcoming. And finally, do not spend any time in planning as how you will meet possible emergencies in the future. Expect, as the necessary policies may affect your actions today, you are concerned with doing today's work in a perfect successful manner, and not with the emergencies which may arise tomorrow. You can attend them as they come. Do not concern yourself with the questions as to how you shall surmount these obstacles. This is all about being present and being in the moment. There is massive amounts of power if you can learn how to really stay present to the moment. It is very important. It's always been important for humanity, and it's especially important, and it gives you the advantage today more than ever before. If you look around, most people are not present in their conversations. They'd rather be somewhere else. They're not present in what they do, and they don't really value. Those that can do that can value where they're at, that value the conversations, be present as to what they're doing, will be able to work with the complexities far better. Everyone else is just in their head. So let's overview these 8 principles. Summary, read them one more time so we have them in sequence, and recommend you read this book. Read it over and over again. Number 1, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, in which in original state permutates, penetrates, and fill the inner spaces of the universe. A thought in the substance produces the thing that is imagined by the thought. Man can form these things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. In order to do this, man must pass from the competitive to the creative mind. Otherwise, he cannot be in harmony with the formless intelligence, which is always creative and never competitive in spirit. Man may come into full harmony with the formless substance by entertaining a lively and sincere gratitude for the blessings it bestows upon him. Gratitude unifies the mind of a man with the intelligence of substance, so the man's thoughts are received by the formless. Man can remain upon the creative plane only by uniting himself with the formless intelligence through a deep and continuous feeling of gratitude. Man must form a clear and definite mental image of the things he wishes to have, to do, or to become. And he must hold this mental image in his thoughts while being deeply grateful to the Supreme, and all his desires are granted to him. The man who wishes to get rich must spend his leisurely time or leisurely hours in contemplation of his vision and in the earnest thanksgiving that the reality is being given to him. Too much stress cannot be laid upon the importance of frequent contemplation of the mental image, coupled with the unwavering faith and devout gratitude. This is the process by which the impression is given to the formless and the creative forces set in motion. The creative energy works through established channels of natural growth and of the industrial and social order. All that is included in his mental image will surely be brought to the man who follows the instructions given above, and whose faith does not waver. I'd say it twice. What he wants will come to him through the ways of established trade and commerce, in order to receive his own when it shall come to him, man must be active, and this activity can only consist in more than filling his present space, doing what you have with what you can right now, the best you can. He must keep in mind the purpose to get rich through the realization of his mental image, and he must do every day all that can be done that day, taking care to do each act in a successful manner. He must give to every man a use value in excess of the cash value he receives, so that each transaction makes for more life. And he must so hold the advancing thought that the impression of increase will be communicated to all with whom he comes in contact. The men and women who practice the foregoing instructions will certainly get rich, and the riches they'll receive will be in exact proportion to the definiteness of their vision, the fixity of their purpose, the steadiness of their faith, and the depth of their gratitude. Thank you very much for watching this video. I will talk to you soon. If you want a copy of the mind map, the link in the description, the bottom of this video. Take care.